All right, we had some questions about 3.7. In 3.7, there's actually two questions, question number 2 and question number 3. So let's start off with question number 2 first. Then we'll get to question number 3 here. It says, y varies directly with the square of x. We'll see what that is all talking about. So if y is equal to negative 30x when x is 3, find y when x is 5. Okay, let me put this on a little palette so I can actually do the work on it. All right, if you watch the lecture notes to this, you find out that, these work always the same way. Step 1 is eventually to figure out what in the world is k. Then step 2 is you actually solve the problem. So it says y varies directly. Now when you see directly right away, what you have is you have a k value that is multiplying the square of x. So in this case, I got myself an x squared. So directly. If it's going to be indirectly, then that's going to be a little different there. Okay, so there's my equation, and we call this the generic equation for any kind of statement that has a variation of direct variation with x squared. Now, particular to this problem, we got to figure out the x value that works. So if it says if y is equal to negative 36, we don't know what the k value is. That's the whole point of doing this here. When x is 3. And so let's go figure out the k value here. All right, so we got ourselves a negative 36 here. Let's see, 3 times 3 is 9, so it becomes 9k. Divide through by 9, and we get ourselves a negative 4. That's what we're trying to find. All right, once we got that, let's go back now and let's figure out what is the value for y if this is the specific setup to this problem. So it's a direct variation, squaring the x and multiplying by negative 4. All right, and at this point, let's go with it here. So I'm going to plug in a 5 this time, again because of that right here. I'm trying to figure out y. That's 5. Let's square that guy. Got ourselves 25. 25 times a negative 4 makes a negative 100. Okay, let's put that in as the answer. And let's see if we are correct. All right, number 2, we got an answer of negative 100. And let's see, submit it, see if we get it right. Awesome, there it is. We're 1 for 1. Okay, that's number 2. Let's jump to number 3. This is the other problem here. Very similar here. Now this is called the inverse variation. So y varies inversely with the cube of x this time. So again, we're going to figure all that good stuff out. Let me transfer it to a little workspace. All right, transferred it to a little work page here. So let's go for it again. Again, these things exactly the same. Step 1, solve for k. Step 2, finish off the problem. All right, the generic formula, y varies, now you got inversely. Okay, that's a little different. Inversely just means the x is on, the k is on top, and now whatever it is dividing the k out. And whatever it is called the cube of x. So in this case, we got ourselves x cubed. All right, and then there's always a particular problem here. So it says when y is 320, if y is 320 when x is 1/4, what happens to y when x is 1/2? So let's go for it here. So this is 320. Trying to figure out the k value here. And we get ourselves a 1/4 taken to the 3rd power. All right, 1/4 times a 4th times a 4th. That's going to get me see, 4 times 4 is 16, and 16 times 4 is 64. Okay, let me just do a little bit of more work here. Not ready for solving for x here. We're going to multiply both top and bottom here by 64. The whole point here is that these two will cancel. And so what I have here is, let me erase that, there it goes. 320 is equal to 64k. Divide through by 64. and we get k equals, let's see if I do the work here. I think it's going to be 5. You guys check me here, but I think it's k is equal to 5. All right, now the specific inverse variation problem for this one is a 5 on top and an x cubed on the bottom. So now let's start finding off the problem here. So find y when x is 1/2. Find the y value if x is 1/2 right here. All right, we're going to cube that. So 2 times, oh, that's a 5. 1/2 times a half times a half. That's going to be a 1/8. All right, I'll show it to you 2 different ways here. Notice the we're technically dividing 5 by 1/8, right? So you can, if you like, you can convert this into a multiplication problem. 5 comes down as 5/1. And remember something called keep change reciprocal. We're going to change the division problem into a multiplication problem, and then the 8 becomes 1/8 becomes 8/1. So notice the answer is going to be 40. Okay. All right, the other way you can do it is you have the 5 on top here, the 1/8, and what you do is you just multiply this side by 8 and the top by 8. It's called multiplying through by common denominator or by 1. So in this case, notice 8s are going to cancel. On top, you got yourself that 40. All right, so both ways it comes out to be 40. And let's plug it in, see if we are right. All right, answer was 40. At least that's what we got. Preview, just make sure we got it correct, and let's submit it. Cool, we are doing good. We're 2 for 2 here. Question 2, question 3, and those were the questions off of the forum or the instructor messages. All right, hopefully this was useful to you. And again, I just wish you well in the class.